Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I decided to do a video all about my history with water. I talk about swimming all the time on this channel, just randomly. You hear me talk about going swimming or whatever, and so yeah, this channel is kind of just to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Apart from books, and what I love probably equally as much as books is all bodies of water. Swimming, whatever. So, I thought I would kind of talk about, like, my childhood as far as, like, swimming goes. So I've always loved water. I remember when I was very little, we didn't have a bathtub. We lived in a room at my grandma's house, and they had, like, a shower. So, my parents, they used, like, I think we had a washing machine, but for some reason we had, like, this wash tub, and my mom would fill it up with water and put it in the living room floor, like, on the living room floor, and I would sit in there for hours and just play in the water, and she'd, like, literally just refill it with hot water. I mean, that was my wading pool in the winter. Like, that's what I wanted to do all the time. I did have a wading pool that I could go in the backyard with. I had several growing up, but, you know, summer was not enough for me. I had to have water all the time. So, you know, that was my pool in the winter. In the house, in the middle of the living room. It was very normal for people to come over to, like, visit or whatever and just find me chilling out in the middle of the living room floor in my wash tub. Listening to a book. So, yeah, water and books have been a simultaneous form of entertainment for me since I was very little. I'm pretty sure I went through the Chronicles of Narnia audiobooks, the entire series in my wash tub. What else? Probably the Judy Blume Fudge books. Once I got those on audio, I repeatedly listened to those in my wash tub. And no, I think by the time I got to Harry Potter, I graduated to a bathtub, because by then we had a bathtub. But yeah, it was very normal to find me in my wash tub. I know that sounds insane, but yeah. So, yeah, I've always loved bodies of water. I also loved splashing in puddles. It got to the, like, I could not resist a puddle. Once I got to regular school, once I left the blind school, Francis Blend, and I started going to regular school, they would let me walk by myself more. Ms. Schindler was very insistent that even if I had an aide, well, Ms. Schindler is my Braille teacher, or was my Braille teacher, but even if I had an aide, like someone that would walk with me from class to class, because I have osteoporosis, and if I fell, yeah, I'd break something. So she was very insistent on my independent travel, despite the fact that I had an aide walking with me. And so I would be constantly in trouble because I would find all the puddles and jump in them with both feet and arrive to class with my socks soaking wet and my aide soaking wet. One of the very few times I ever got benched was when I really splashed her. I found the biggest, muddiest puddle I could find, and I mean, it was a glorious puddle. It was like up to my ankles deep, and it was just begging to be jumped in. And so I jumped in it with both feet, got her splattered with mud, and yeah, I was in trouble. And after that, I guess Miss Schindler is allowed to know this now. She sort of decided to start walking me. I had to hold on to her so that she could steer me past all the puddles I'd inevitably jump in, because I was always jumping in them and I could no longer be trusted. And then, yeah, Gladys went on to do the same thing, the aide I had in middle school, because I could not resist splashing in a body of water, even if it was a small body of water. So yeah, water is just a temptation for me. And yeah. So yeah. I also, like I said, I had a lot of wading pools as a kid. I love them. Truly the only time I ever remember feeling left out of an activity was water day at Francis Blend. That was every Friday during summer school, where they would have probably 20 or 30 wading pools on this, like the PE field, and a bunch of water toys, and the whole school would literally get wet. Like, everyone would be allowed to go into the pools and stuff, except for me. Because, you know, I have osteoporosis, so someone could, like, tackle me and I could get hurt. So what did I get to do? I got to sit in a chair with my feet in the water and hope that I would get a rubber duck. Now, those rubber ducks were glorious rubber ducks that could apparently swim across the pool. I don't know how. Maybe I'm too gullible and I believed the kid who was bragging about making the duck swim across the pool, and you could squirt water out of it. And I remember, like, getting to kind of feel the duck with my fingertips, and it was pretty big, but I could never get to grab it or, like, play with it, really. I just kind of felt it bobbing along the water, but because I was sitting in a chair, I had to, like, bend all the way over to grab the duck, and I couldn't really play with it. So to this day, I am very sad that I never got to play with those gigantic ducks that squirted water. So yeah, that is kind of my early history with water. When I started swimming, so the first time I ever went into a regular swimming pool that wasn't a wading pool, I was 8. It was at Braille Institute. My mom signed me up for what they called swimming lessons, but truly all they were was pool time. I mean, they didn't teach us anything. They literally just, had floaties and life jackets and let us do our thing while they hung out, and I don't know what they did. I mean, some of them were in the water with us, but, there was no swimming lessons to be had. So, but either way, I still had fun. The first time I went into a huge pool like that, I was amazed. Before that, my parents would only let me sit on the steps and splash around. But once I was able to, get in the water and I had the life jacket and I could go wherever I wanted, oh boy. I was always in trouble because I would climb over the lane lines and go as deep as I can possibly go. Because, I was wearing a life jacket, so what was going to happen to me? They even told me that I couldn't sink with it. So why I kept getting in trouble, I don't know. Apart from the fact that I was breaking all the rules. But yeah, I would climb over the lane lines and regularly get a timeout because I was always going into the deep end where I wasn't supposed to be. But I couldn't resist. Pretty much most of the times that I got in trouble in any situation had to do with water. But yeah, I learned to paddle around with my life jacket, and eventually, after 3 months of just paddling around and no lessons to be had, I was just okay, when my mom signed me up for this was called swimming lessons, and you people have taught me nothing, so teach me something. So they took off the life jacket and had me kicking with the kickboard, and shortly after that, they had to sell the building with the pool, and yeah, there went my swimming lessons, or what little I had, and I kind of just sort of taught myself. I eventually sort of let go of the kickboard and just started dog paddling on my own without them, and I never had really formal swimming lessons again. No, I take it back. I had maybe 3 or 4 weeks of lessons at the El Sereno Rec Center when I was 12. That's the recreation center near our house. But they were kind of expensive, and they were only for 4 weeks at a time or something, so they didn't last long, and I pretty much forgot everything I learned since then. So I kind of just concentrated on perfecting my dog paddle so I could pretty much go to the deep end wherever I wanted to go. And honestly, I kind of prefer the dog paddle because I am not a fan of not being able to hear. And if you want to swim like a normal person swims, you have to put your head under the water and you can't hear anything anyone says. And I'm not really a fan of not being able to see and not being able to hear because something could happen. So I'm actually okay with my head out of the water swimming. But whatever. Yeah, I kind of paddled around other people's pools and all that, and And it was what it was. My sisters had pools at different times. One of them lived in an apartment complex with a pool. My other sister actually just got a house with a pool a few years ago, so I would swim there. But, COVID and all that stuff. And then, a year ago, I discovered water fitness at the YMCA. Well, it kind of started with my bone doctor suggesting I do water fitness because I was not a fan of physical therapy at all. They'd sent me to physical therapy like on 3 or 4 separate occasions, like throughout my life, where I would go for several weeks and then, they said that I was ready to graduate and do the exercises on my own, which inevitably I didn't do the exercises, and that kind of caused me more pain. So when the doctor put me on this shot to strengthen my bones, he obviously said I needed to exercise to sort of supplement that shot. You're strengthening bone with the shot, but you need to exercise to keep it that way. So, he suggested water fitness, and it was something I'd kind of thought about off and on for a while, but I didn't really commit to it until Marissa started posting about it all the time on Facebook and how much fun she had. And I was like, okay, I'm going to know someone. I want to do this. And so almost a year ago, I started doing it. And it's kind of funny because a lot of the exercises are very similar to what I do in physical therapy. So that works. I don't know. I have to admit, like, the first few times that I went, I was pretty nervous. It was partly Marissa's fault because she told me that they use weights that we have to use weights in our hands and wear a weighted vest. Do you know what I think of when I think of a weighted vest? I think of those weighted vests that they put on you when you're about to get an x-ray so you don't get radiation. And so I'm picturing wearing one of those and having weights in my hands and having to exercise while trying not to drown. Like, I was like, okay, this sounds terrible and sadistic, and I don't think I want to do this. And whatever, but, the doctor said it'd be good for me, and I'm like, okay, I like water, why not? So the first day I went, I refused to wear the vest. And Mom kept calling it a vest. She's like, you need to wear the vest, everybody's wearing the vest. And I'm like, no, I'm not wearing the vest. I'm terrified of the vest. So basically, for the first few times, Mom spent the time with me in water fitness, practically having to half carry me through the exercises because I refused to wear the vest. And it's really hard to do exercises without the vest. I can swim, but it's a lot easier to do them when you don't have to concentrate on floating while you do them. So having a life vest actually helps. So then one day, her and Liz showed me, Liz didn't know why Mom insisted on me seeing the vest, but she showed me a vest, and she helped me put it on, and I realized that it was just like my old life jacket, pretty much. So, yeah, then I was okay. And after that, I started going without Mom. Dad would still take me, but, he can't really get in the water due to an injury he had years ago. A fall from a horse that resulted in some broken ribs, and he doesn't like the pressure of the water. So, yeah, he stays outside the pool. And I actually wasn't sure if I would be able to do the class in the water, by myself without my mom there, because I'd never actually been in a pool without a parent before, or at least a public pool. And I'd also never been swimming in a public pool without a parent in the water with me, or adults that I knew. At Braille Institute, there was always adults in the pool. At Camp Bloomfield, the camp for blind people, there was always adults in the pool. The only time I was in a big pool by myself was at my sister's house, but they were outside the water, barbecuing, so they weren't that far away. But yeah, I was kind of nervous, and back then Liz was teaching most of the classes, so she kind of helped me through the exercises, and I eventually sort of learned the routine. And so it was kind of interesting, being on my own in the water, even though Dad was, like, on the deck. I was sort of scared the first few times, and I was even more scared during open swim because on my first day of open swim, a guy was swimming really fast and almost ran me over, and Liz had to save me. I'm pretty sure I told the story in another video. I didn't actually know it was Liz who saved me. I suspected it was her, and I kind of stalked her after that to see if it was her, like, trying to figure it out. I would, like, swim nearby to see if I could hear her voice that day, and I was pretty sure it was her, and then only recently, when I told the story, did she say, yeah, it was me. But yeah, so there was some hit and misses as far as, like, you know, incidents in the pool with me in it without a parent, but overall, it's been a pretty good experience. There's 2 other fitness instructors that also teach classes during the week, so I try to go every day. Although, now thinking back, I kind of wonder why doctors didn't suggest this sooner, considering they all knew I was obsessed with water. I kind of wonder if it's because, like, water fitness is generally for older people. Like, there are some younger people that go to some of Liz's classes, but, like, a lot of them are older, especially during the morning. So I kind of wonder if there's just not water fitness classes for kids. Because I would have loved it. Honestly, I probably would have loved going as a kid, even if everybody was, like, in their 60s. Because I didn't really make friends with kids that easily because of the bone thing. Like, I couldn't really play with other kids. So I spent all my time around teachers. So truly, if I was in a class full of, like, adults, as long as I was in the water, I probably could have cared less. But that's probably why they didn't tell me about that until I actually was an adult. Which I think is a bit messed up. I don't know. I kind of wonder if I would have been a lot better bone-wise or strength-wise if I had been taking these classes since I was little. Because no one could ever get me to do exercise before that. I mean, I didn't like hiking. Dad would drag me to the park to go on hikes, and walks are boring. I mean, yeah, okay, I guess I can smell the flowers and stuff, but frankly, I don't know. I find walks more rewarding for sighted people, especially hikes, because, you know, the reward is when you get to the top, and I don't get any reward when I get to the top of the mountain. All I get is, I'm tired, and can I go now? Because I want to go back to my book. There is no reward for me at a hike, and I'm allergic to pollen, so smelling the flowers and all that stuff is out too. So I get nothing out of nature, truly nothing, except for water. So yeah, I never really enjoyed exercise before this. So I kind of wonder, like, what my life would have been like if I'd had it as a little kid. And I wonder if, I mean, I have a really rare bone condition. It's apparently my bones are only fragile in my spine, and they can't figure out why. So, but there are other kids who have, like, there's a condition called osteogenesis imperfecta where, like, it's all the bones are brittle and stuff. So I kind of wonder if there should be, like, water fitness classes for kids so that, like, kids like them can do it. I don't know. I've just never heard of water fitness classes for kids. And I think I would have loved doing that as a kid. I mean, I love it now, but yeah. So, anyway, I don't know. It's been almost a year since I've been going, and I have a lot of fun, and for the most part, I have behaved myself in the water. There was one time when I almost gave Liz a heart attack because I started streaking across the pool when we were doing laps, and I almost got ran over by someone. And after that, she said no more lap swimming during class time, and she's right. I have no self-control when it comes to water. I'm learning to have some self-control. It's just that, like, water is one of those things where you just feel free. I mean, I can literally move however I want, and chances are nothing's gonna happen to me. So, like, it's like the one time when I feel kind of brave and, like, I can just go. And I don't know, swimming just feels like flying. And I just love it. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever have complete self-control in the water, but I am trying to act like a grown-up in the water. And for the sanity of all the fitness instructors, so far I have not given the other two any major heart attacks. Those have apparently only been reserved for Liz. She just got lucky, I guess, that they all happened on her watch. But, yeah. Actually, no, all have been on Liz's watch. Anyway, so yeah, I just thought I would kind of talk a little bit about my, history with swimming and stuff like that, just because it's one of my favorite pastimes. And, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!
Stop recording video.